Serious and so ready.
By surprise, right?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon to everybody. ShiSh, is it good afternoon for you as well? What's your time zone?
It is morning. It is 7 a.m.
But it was inclusive of you to think of us all three poles here. So Central Eastern European time zone wins today. Gentlemen, it is my pleasure to have you. It is yet another panel that we're having today. We're past 1, 2, 3, and this is number 4, if I'm not mistaken. And well, I can't say this is going to be the best one because I'm also hosting others, so I can't play against myself, but let's try. So I think the best way to start is to make sure that just as I have had the chance to meet you, the audience hasn't yet, other than looking at your titles and your LinkedIn. So if we could start with ShiSh, since you're in the morning time zone, so let's give you that. Let's start away. I mean, your Twitter or X account says that you're a mononymous, so you don't even go that much by your name. You go by your name. It's ShiSh full stop,
It's
isn't it?
ShiSh. Yep, exactly.
I need more than just your name, man. I need to find out what you do while you're here.
Okay. So I'm the retail lead within Microsoft for Startups, and I work with a small portfolio of startups among 50,000 that we have, about 25 that represent innovation that's happening in the retail consumer goods space.
Sounded like a full stop.
Well, I can go on. So,
let's leave some space for everybody, and then I'm sure we're going to be ripping the microphones out of our hands. Marcin, you're muted, so Marek, your turn.
All right. So Marek Nadra, I'm head of business solution in scope of commercial. So I'm basically representing the IT function, but my goal is basically to solve business problems by technology, by innovation. And I think especially in the area of sales and marketing, we have plenty of them to crack, and I think good technology to bring for the rescue. I think 14 years working for Danone, starting with the Central Europe region. Couple of years back, moved to Munich, where I'm more looking after market of DACH, with similar but also a bit different challenges because the business is also a bit different.
We've heard the cultural aspect in previous panels as well. So Marcin, your turn to unmute and do the same.
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm Marcin Winkler. I'm general manager for non-DACH countries. So I'm developing e-com in Central Eastern Europe, Benelux, Italy, and Spain at Breuninger. Breuninger is a German origin omni-channel luxury fashion retailer. So we have 13 shops, department stores in Germany, plus very strong e-commerce, more than 1 billion euro GMV. And yeah, I'm doing this e-com / digital / marketing jobs for last 20 years in variety of industries, fashion, telco, beauty, FMCG. So a lot of experiences, which I hope I will share with you.
You know how I know that this is going to be a good panel? Because I've got 3 people. It's not even the time zone thing anymore, ShiSh, don't worry. It is the case that I've got you from Microsoft for Startups, where you elevated yourself to that position over sort of going 360 around Microsoft and now being able to be the evangelist of that knowledge for startups. Then we've got Danone, which is a FMCG company largely. And then we've got...
we are the customer as well of Microsoft, so we have some touch.
Absolutely.
I'm pretty sure everybody here somehow is, right?
Breuninger and Danone, both.
I'll have to find out if Netguru can stay as well. But with regards to this this interdimensional variety that we're enjoying here, this is why we're going to have such a good panel, despite just having a very generic topic, because we're talking about the future of AI and LLMs, right? But we're going to be able to narrow it down just because we have someone from luxury fashion, someone from FMCG, and someone sort of pulling it all together, but also looking how before we get to the Breuninger or Danone level, there is the startup that is trying to become or conquer either of the 2 companies that we have just mentioned. So I'm thinking, what kind of question can I ask either of you? But ShiSh, since you are the closest out of all of us here to the innovation, I believe, because Startups are typically the places where things are born that some enterprises don't dare to discover. So
Yep.
can you tell us what is it that you're seeing? Perhaps some things that we just can't read when we say AI news, go to Google, hit enter and ask for news. Give us the lowdown, the things that we don't hear.
Yep. A couple of things that I didn't point out in my intro. So I've been in Microsoft for 26 years, and the progress that's happened in the retail world in that period, which I would say in the grand scheme of things is a small period. But just in that period, there's been a lot of changes. And that pace at which those changes have been happening in the last few has been much faster than ever before. And one of the things that, from a retail perspective that is fascinating is the fact that retailers have access to a lot of data. And this data is all of that customer patterns and that kind of data. And I remember from more than 10 years ago, maybe 15 or so years ago, when the big news in the New York Times was about, how Target knows your teen daughter's pregnant before you do. And that was sort of an indication of the amount of data, but not just the data, but what you can do with it, the inferences and the AI and all of that. And that was I would say, the beginning of that realization for customers as well as retailers to say, we're sitting on all that data, we need to be able to do something, and do something is competitive advantage is one aspect of it, and engaging with the customer, the loyalty and better engagement, the relevance and personalization was an important element of customer retention, and that data was an important element of that. And there's been constant progressive developments that have been happening with AI in better making use of that data. But I would say with the last few months has been, I would say, the biggest development that I've seen, where with LLMs, the ability to take huge amounts of data to better understand the customer and personalize how you engage with customers, that has been that biggest development. So over the last few months, I would say from a startup perspective, we've seen a huge number of startups get created around this entire body of knowledge around GPTs and LLMs and how do you actually use it with retail. And also the other aspect that I'm seeing is, I did this entire collection of companies that do interesting things with generative AI. And I was kind of making a bet with myself and saying, if I look at all the retail CPG companies out there, we are talking about ChatGPT going public and, exactly to the day today, a year ago. And in that time frame, I said that is too short a time frame for retail and CPG companies to be able to say, take a technology that is just developing and actually start making deployments. And I've got 110 stories of retail consumer goods companies out there doing interesting things. And to me, that was, I would say, from a startup's perspective, from a emerging technology perspective, very surprising, the pace at which not only the technology, moved, but also the adoption from enterprises, which in most cases, adoption is not as quick. It takes a few years for technology to get adopted. We're talking about a couple of months in this case.
So I'm hearing that this is the fastest you've seen a tech become so attractive, popular, and adopted?
In my perspective, yes, this is the fastest I've seen. I mean, I was making a bet with myself. Within a year, there might be a handful, but I was wrong.
Who won that bet?
Well, I lost the bet. I kind of go, no, it's not happening. But I do have over 100 stories, and I'm going, wow, this is amazing.
So see, now let me be the messenger that one might try to shoot here.
Yep.
Of course, there is a caveat to you being so close to those innovators. We've also seen a lot of the time situations happen like when OpenAI released GPTs, and a lot of those companies that were basically wrappers just figured out, well, we no longer exist or have a business model. So now I want to take the microphone and pass it over to the two gentlemen who hold positions in enterprise companies, and as such, it's not ShiSh that I'm bashing you, nor the startup that you work with. It's just a completely different moment in the, let's say, life cycle of a company, right? And I'm pretty sure that Marcin or Marek, they themselves faced some issues when trying to, easily implement, because you have to have people who agree with you, you have to have sponsors, you have to have approvals, and also. Or maybe I'm wrong, Marcin. I'm seeing that your face tells me that you're about to tell me how I could actually convince my boss to implement AI in an enterprise structure. And that smile tells me I'm right. Go on.
It's not that easy to convince to disruption, but I fully agree with ShiSh that this time things are happening much faster than years ago. So I remember 12 or 15 years ago working at telco when we were trying to introduce cloud technologies, and because telco is so regulated industry, IT didn't want us to keep our online resources in cloud. They wanted to have everything on premise, everything, including web analytics tool. Everything must have been on our servers. So this time it is happening much faster. We see generative AI being already included in Adobe Stock. So you can use Midjourney and generate pictures in Adobe Stock, and it just started months ago, and you already have this embedded, or in some marketing automation suites, you also have plugins from other AI tools which you can easily use. So it is happening quickly. But I'm working for German company, and German business is, I would say, very conservative, still very conservative. So we are looking on things which are happening. We are trying to understand where is the potential, where is ROI, and for sure we are moving forward, but rather as a conscious follower, not innovator, and just to give you grasp of what kind of things we are using right now. So of course the whole area of marketing technology, data, segmentation, targeting, so the things how we can reach more efficiently our customers, automatization, including also content production. Breuninger is shooting around 500-600 products a day, and you need all the shoots of the loops from different angles, pack shots, and so on. So there was a lot of work. I remember years ago, we were using like 20-30 people to do retouche, and Breuninger investment in startup called Auto Retouche, which makes it automated. So this is as ShiSh said, this is the boring stuff. The boring stuff which you can pretty easily explain to your management board and tell them this is return on investment. We are reducing costs, improving efficiency, and so on. But it is getting harder and harder in luxury segment, especially in luxury segment, when we are touching the core of our industry. And the core is authenticity, genuity, and quality of the things, personal relation. If you are going to sell Gucci bag to your customer for 1,500 euro, it is very different than just some impulse purchase. So I'm really curious into which direction those much more advanced things will happen. I'm looking on our Polish startup Quarticon, who just implemented in some of my competitors AI-powered stylist, which is very interesting concept. So absolutely, I see huge potential for generative AI and more advanced technologies like large language models and so on. But for sure, in luxury, it won't be that easy to convince to switch the gears, because for many years it was craftsmanship and personal touch.
And I think it still will be even more so, because when you become sort of so democratized with what is available to all of the segments below luxury fashion needs to stand out more than it ever has up until today. But Marek, we've discussed ShiSh's proximity to startups. We've discussed Marcin's knowledge within regards to selling fashion goods, but you are selling items that most of the time will be stored in my fridge, won't they? Right. So I'm pretty sure, or take me to school if I'm that.
There is more in our portfolio than just the things you put in the fridge, but I think many of those you can definitely put there. Yeah.
I mean, definitely items that will have an expiration date. Is that a much fair?
I think it's a fair approach, even if water maybe has a bit of longer expiration date. But indeed, it's a food and beverage FMCG context. So indeed, I think it's also part of the retail, part of the manufacturer. We work closely with the retail as our customer. Also, we're having our own e-commerce channel. And I mean, I would mostly agree with all what you just said. I think what makes a difference in a way, it's a bit of the context. So for us, innovation means something different than from ShiSh working with the startup. We are not inventing the technology. We are more about connecting the dots. So just making sure what's available, how technology could fit to our context, and how to also apply our resources, focus in the way which help us to achieve our objectives, our goals, our growth. Of course, there are different ones. So I think there is no one way of just crack AI and just everyone should do the same thing. I don't think so. There is definitely different ways to approach it. I think indeed what we experience right now is some kind of revolutionary aspect. I think it's mainly because of the Gen AI, which was something relatively new, at least from the capability perspective. But I think the foundation of AI, it's nothing new, right? It's this kind of known from the past.
Yeah.
And I think it still works, right? So you need to have some competences, you need to have huge data sets, what you mentioned, structures, process. It all takes effort and time, and you can nicely leverage. I think which comes with generative AI is that quite often you can apply it much easier, a bit without this full deep of understanding, because it's so easy to apply that there is plenty of cases you can just spot right away. I still see that probably jumping from tech to tech, startup to startup would be not the best idea from the corporate perspective.
Yep.
Because with all due respect, I would rather be careful about observing the market, I don't know, in a 1 year period. I would rather expect that would be a massive consolidation. I see that big players, Salesforce, Adobe, they will basically implement those capabilities inside the product by just enhancing the value. So you don't need to be like AI expert to be able to just use it, right? It will be just a natural, intuitive user interface. That's why I don't see that, if you don't jump immediately with full in, I mean, you lost the game. It's not that. I think it's about mindful experimentation. So I see a lot will just come from those products for us. I think ShiSh, the Copilot, I have a lot of hope for the whole product, because I think it's just give you the best way how you can enhance your classic office work with all those Gen AI capabilities. So I really looking forward for that. And we don't need to immediately, bring it some other tech. We can just wait for the couple of extensions, in my experience.
ShiSh, it's almost like you're asking me if you can speak. Of course.
No, I totally agree with both the points that Marcin and Marek made. One, there are certain use cases that drive a lot of ROI, and when you're kind of weighing those risks about new technology, untested technology, and it's very new out there. Should you be adopting it right away? One is really to look at what's the outcome, the ROI. some of the things that Marcin also talked about is, things like creating the content. One of the things that many of the brands I work with struggle with is, all that manual work, the grunt work that can be automated. And it doesn't mean that, you let the AI do the whole thing and then you release it out to public. Just like content that is created today, it goes through a review process, and that same review process is still applied with a lot of companies. Just the creation, the grunt work is completely automated, and as a result, the amount of time and resources that are saved is actually huge. And that's again another element that I think is a big part of it. And the point that Marek made about, do we want to take 100 different startups and create all these silos of startup solutions? Not necessarily. One of the approaches that many of the enterprises are taking is there is a lot of in-house innovation that is happening, a lot of work that's happening in-house. And some of the startups may have done the work that is being done, and augmenting that with startups is one of the approaches that's worked well. And the other point that Marek made as well about, are the big companies creating some of those, the capabilities that are small, that are best fit within existing line of business work. That is indeed happening. And I think you just wait a little bit and you see, well, there's a startup that was doing it. Now it's incorporated into the bigger product. And that's very true as well. I totally agree with that viewpoint.
So I'm just being mindful of the time here. We have 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 6 minutes left. So I want to use them extremely productively. We've got some questions from the audience that are super relevant. One from Kamil, asking the studio to put it up over here. Kamil asks, Marek, do you also work with food tech startups? If so, what are the trends in this domain? So of course, this question is probably seeking for an answer. Is a part of your job somehow similar to what ShiSh does for most of his job?
So I personally not, let's say, playing the role with the food tech startup. I know that there are some initiatives within the Danone, which is more focused about, let's say, less technology context. My domain is more linked to the technology. So we have also quite some exchange with the startup, more for the open innovation. But I think there is still, we are still looking for the better ways of organizing ourselves with this collaboration, because basically we have also our limited resources, so we cannot just go, front and just look for the startup on our own. We rather try to work with the bigger partners who also help us to connect the right startup for our kind of challenges.
Sounds like the two of you should talk after this call.
Super happy to do so. And we are really experimenting with the Microsoft technology in AI context. So again, I'm more or less mentioned about how I see the future, but we are also doing some of the experimentation, because there is, usually we don't try to invent the wheel. So we don't basically, whenever we can use the market product, build such a core solution, we do it. But sometimes we need to build something, and then with whole Azure capabilities of AI, we are also doing some experimentation. Yeah? So it's just not one fits at all.
First of all, I wanted to say I love the fact how fast we're responding, because that means we can accommodate maybe 3 more questions from the audience. But ShiSh, also, please remember, this is an Netguru event, not a Microsoft event. We can do a joint one, but essentially it seems like Microsoft is just everywhere in those conversations. So the next question was from Michał Szachidewicz, and it was to you, Marcin. What is in store for Breuninger AI-wise? And you've said about the auto-retouch tool, but I think what Michał is asking is, what's like the next frontier? Is there something that you're trying to crack with AI, but for example, haven't managed to do that yet? Or the conservative approach that you follow means that you are safe because you're not exploring any novelty until it's confirmed?
So I will build more about my personal view. So as I said, as a company, we are very conscious spender, investing in technology when it is proved. So we are not on the frontier. But I'm strongly believing that there is much more what we can unleash in terms of creativity from AI. and especially, we see those beautiful computer-generated videos, beautiful computer-generated pictures. Still, it looks like this. There is operator, someone who's skilled, who knows how to write prompts, and who has idea, and then technology creates this visual content or written content, copywriting, and so on. And I'm just wondering when AI will be so powerful to be not just the art director, but be, starting from strategists. So the AI will connect the dots which we as a people don't see in consumer behaviors, in the data, and will do end-to-end creative, something which we even can't imagine right now. So this is one thing, and in luxury segment, it is especially important because I said genuine. We want to stand out of the crowd. We don't want to be in the same segment with mass market brands. So absolutely, and still this once again I will underline those relations. So when AI will be able to replace personal relations selling luxury products, and here omnichannel, phygital, all the things that are happening right now in department stores worldwide. So connection of technology and the touch point with customer, how we can better empower this for personalized experiences. So those are two aspects which I'm thinking about for future.
All right, and with 39 seconds left, I wanted to throw this up, and I'm expecting a couple words for you so we don't overlap onto the other panel. Each speaker gets to say a no-go with AI, something that you completely don't see working out. It doesn't have to be revolutionary. I just need an answer from you. So ShiSh?
Human creativity, I think, is still going to be the big differentiator, and AI will never replace that. It can repeat, it can learn from the past.
Marek?
I think it's another like a tool in our toolkit. Like, so once you have a bit of more sophisticated hammer, we still need to know how to use it. It's not just to solve all the problems with that. We have broader portfolio of the tools, so we need to be aware about the limitations and know where to apply it.
And a stronger hammer means you can injure yourself that much more. Marcin,
Yes.
Last words.
Difficult to have friends in robot or AI or something like this. So I think we still need people, human.
Absolutely. And Marcin, to answer what you were wondering, when you will be able to have that entire creative suite, just this morning I was listening to This Week in Startups by Jason Calacanis. I can send it over to you, and the CEO of the company called Adept said it's 1 to 2 years until you get that level of AGI that you need for Breuninger. So just be patient. And in the meantime, gents, Marcin, Marek, ShiSh, thank you so much. Definitely see you on another panel in this combination or a different one. And dear audience, thank you for your comments, and wait for the next panel.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.